भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 14. Tasmat ekena manasa bhagavan sattvatam patihi shrotavyah kirtitavyah cha dhyeyah pujyah cha nityada tasmadekena manasa Bhagavan Sattvatam Patihi Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha Dhyeya Pujayascha Nityada Tasmadekena Manasa Bhagavan Sattvatam Patihi Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha Dhyeya Pujayascha Nityada Tasmadekena Manasa Bhagavan Sattvatam Patihi Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha Dhyeya Pujayascha Nityada
Tasmadekena manasa Bhagavan Sattvatam Patihi Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha Dhyeya Pujyascha Nityada
तस्मादेकेन मनसा भगवान् सात्वतां पतिः श्रोतव्य कीर्तितव्यश्च ध्येयः पूज्यश्च नित्यदा तस्मादेकेन मनसा भगवान् सात्वतां पतिः श्रोतव्य कीर्तितव्यश्च ध्येयः पूज्यश्च नित्यदा
तस्मादेकेन मनसा भगवान् सात्वतां पतिः श्रोतव्यः कीर्तितव्यश्च ध्येयः पूज्यश्च नित्यदा तस्मादेकेन मनसा भगवान् सात्वतां पतिः श्रोतव्यः कीर्तितव्यश्च ध्येयः पूज्यश्च नित्यदा
Tasmat Therefore Ekena by one Manasa attention of the mind Bhagavan the personality of Godhead Sattvatam of the devotees Patihi protector Shrotavyah is to be heard Kirtitavyah to be glorified Cha and Dhyeyah to be remembered Pujyah to be worshipped Cha and Nityada constantly. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. If the realization of the Absolute Truth is the ultimate aim of life, It must be carried out by all means in any one of the above mentioned castes and orders of life. The four processes, namely glorifying, hearing, remembering, and worshipping, are general occupations. Without these principles of life, no one can exist. Activities of the living being involve engagements in these four different principles of life. Especially in modern society, all activities are more or less dependent on hearing and glorifying. Any man from any social status becomes a well-known man in human society within a very short time if he is simply glorified truly or falsely in the daily newspapers. Sometimes political leaders of a particular party are also advertised by newspaper propaganda, and by such a method of glorification, an insignificant man becomes an important man within no time. But such propaganda by false glorification of an unqualified person cannot bring about any good either for the particular man or for the society. There may be some temporary reactions to such propaganda, but there are no permanent effects. Therefore, such activities are a waste of time. The actual object of glorification is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has created everything manifested before us. We have broadly discussed this fact from the beginning of the Janmadi Asya Shlok of this Bhagavatam. The tendency to glorify others or hear others must be turned to the real object of glorification, the Supreme Being, and that will bring happiness. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Tasmadekena manasa bhagavan satvatam pati shrotavya kirtidavyascha dhyeya pujayascha nityada. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. In Bhagavatam, he is speaking about constantly glorifying, chanting the holy name of the Lord. On a daily basis, people have different activities they do. We are committed to. We have to remember to eat. We have to remember to maintain our health, maintain dependence. Some have children or what, family. And so many things that we have to do, including spiritual life. Spiritual life, sadhana, has to be also practiced properly. Some things are on time. On a certain time we have to do those things. So the mind is preoccupied, trying to do these things. Remember this, remember to do that. This is there. So we are busy the whole day with these activities. But because there is so much to do, priorities have to be kept. Priorities. Everyone has different priorities in life. What is your priority? Some people's priorities work. Some people's priorities, whatever it is, I don't know. Keep up with the news, keep in touch with certain family members, whatever it is. We have different priorities. So, if we keep a priority, we won't forget to do that and we'll be much more careful. But now from Shastra we understand, for the jiva, the priority and most important thing is he is meant for, created for glorifying God. Glorification can be done in different ways, but it's the duty of the jiva to shrotavya kirtitavyascha dhyeya pujasyascha nityada. It's the four things are mentioned here. It's his priority to constantly glorify. How do we glorify God? We chant his name, we speak about him, we in society try to permeate Krishna more and more. Actually, there's much more we could do also than what's being done. Anyway, glorify, remember remember personality of Godhead. That becomes easier if they are in Udipan, it says in Bengali. Udipan, things which remind us of Krishna. Pictures, altar, tilak, dhoti kurta, shikha, things which remind us of Krishna. And it's our duty to remind others by dressing like that. But for us, remembering Krishna, Udipan. For some who are more advanced, they'll hear a flute, Krishna. They'll think. Someone may think of some film song, but that depends on the person. So, priority, glorifying, remembering, worshipping, and hearing about Supreme Personality of Godhead, and worshipping. This is actually the duty. This is our duty. We made many duties for our human society and us and family and all this, but Shastra tells us the duty of the jiva. This is what we are meant for. If we do what we are meant for, we become happy. If we don't, there's going to be a problem. So, what is the priority level in your life of remembering Krishna, worshipping, hearing, glorifying? What is in our life? It should be high. It should be high, because it says in the opening sentence of this purport, if realization of the absolute truth is the ultimate aim of life, it must be carried out by all means. If it is the aim of life, what is this referring to? We are on 1.2.14 now. Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, Chapter 2, Text 14. Who knows what is Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, Chapter 2, Text 10? Oh, no, don't go looking in your phone. Kamasya Indriya Priti Lavo Jivata Yavata Jiva Satatva Jigyasa Anarthayashtya Karmabhi. Sutta Goswami here is speaking. After the sages asked the 6 questions, Sutta Goswami began speaking. Here in the 2nd chapter we are Divinity and Divine Service. So he started off by Mangalacharan, glorifying Shukadev Goswami. Now he's beginning to speak, and he very early explained here that the goal of life is self-realization. That is the goal of life. So here this sentence is telling us, if this is the goal of life, that's what we should do. If I go to the supermarket to buy something, on the way I'll fill petrol, I'll say hello to my friend, I'll make a phone call, but you must go and buy what did you go to do? Go and do it. Maybe someone is waiting, is cooking, told you, can you buy something? So you have to do it, and that's priority. You may do this and that on the way, but don't get sidetracked. Don't get sidetracked. Remember the goal. So here, Jivasa Tattva Jigyasa, the goal is that we have to remember Krishna. Now we may do other things. We have to maintain the body. We have to maintain health. We have to maintain good consciousness. We have to remember to renew our visa. For some, we have to remember so many things. But we should not remember the main goal. That does not make sense. We went to do something, do it. Do it. We may forget, but Shastra is reminding you. Okay, I forgot. Okay, Shastra is reminding you. It's reminding you. What is your goal? What is the priority? This is it. We have a lot of things to do, but priority. This material body, we understand from Bhagavad Gita, is maintained by grains. What is that? This body is maintained by grains, Bhagavad Gita says. He'll tell. Okay, all right. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, Bhagavad Gita says this material body is maintained by grains. Anad bhavanti bhutani. Okay. This body is maintained by grains. Now, when we don't take grains, body becomes weak. Unless you are spiritually advanced or fully realized, then you don't need to eat, actually, really speaking, because you come out of the modes. We don't need to eat, sleep, ahara, bhaya, nidra, maitunya, eat, sleep, sexual intercourse, and protection goes when the material body is totally detached. We are detached. That need is not there anymore. And these 4 things fade away gradually as you do bhakti. So, the material body otherwise has to be maintained by grains. But the spiritual body is maintained by hearing about the Supreme Lord, glorifying, worshipping Him and remembering Him. Spiritual body is maintained. If we don't do that, we become dead bodies. You may say, oh, but I'm walking, I'm eating, you're alive. Body is alive, but you're dead, and you know that. Person dead, a dead person is one who's not engaged in these four activities. Then he becomes morose, becomes lifeless. Actually, our subtle body becomes covered and unmanifest. Spiritual body, when we stop worshipping Krishna, which happened, we descended to this material world, everything is covered now. Everything is covered. To the degree we are far away from Krishna, we are more spiritually dead. So this material body is maintained by grains, but spiritually means we, actually us, can get life by these activities. We have to engage in these activities. It's lifeless. If we don't, it's a dead society, it's a dead person, it's a dead family, it's a dead country, disconnected from Krishna. Anyone knows, even a small child gets enlivened in bhakti. Who doesn't know? Later on, so many other layers come up in identification, upadhi, oh, not my religion, oh, not our God, family God, and all these things. But Krishna is all attractive. Actually, he's all attractive, and the proof is how he's going all over the world, and people hear and they become enlivened. Even then they're asking, oh, what is this mantra? What is going on here? First they'll dance and appreciate, then they'll ask, oh, Hindu. Oh. But actually, it's not, there's no resignation. Sanatan, dharma. No, it's eternal and universal. Universal means not for any place, person, or time, particular time, place, or circumstance. Sages of Naimisharanya, they were hearing the Bhagavatam 7 days non-stop. Parikshit Maharaj commented, there's a verse here, that for so many days, maybe 7, I don't know which stage he said this, I'm not eating or drinking or sleeping, but I feel so full of life because he's hearing Bhagavatam constantly. Okay, we are not on that level. Some sleep when we hear Bhagavatam. But the fact, okay, good, some people sat down to hear, that's a stage 1, good, it's a start. And if we continue hearing, then we'll become awakened. And the sages said, we, Shaunakrishi, Vayam tuna vitripyama uttama shloka vikrame yatshanvanti rasa jnanam swadu swadu pade pade. We are not satisfied by hearing Vayam tuna vitripyama uttama shloka vikrame, by hearing the glorious and great pastimes of Uttama Shloka, Vishnu, Krishna. And one who hears them, Yatshinvanti Rasa Jnanam, hears this with knowledge of rasa, understanding Krishna's intimate pastimes. Swadu Swadu Pade Pade. They will enjoy bliss at every step. Swad Swadu Pade Pade. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, when he was hearing the glories of Krishna, he was so enlivened. Vishtabhyam, no. Vistaranatmano yogam vibhutim cha janardhana. Janardhan, Krishna, Vistar, explain, elaborate, Vistar, elaborate in detail, Vistarena atmano yogam, your greatness, yogam, and mystic power. Yogam, Vistarena atmano yogam, vibhutim, and power, yeah. Mystic power and your glories, greatness, vibhutim cha janardhana. Bhuya kataya hitriptir. He's saying, say it again. He already heard. This is chapter 10. But he heard in chapter 9, he heard in chapter 7, he already heard greatness of Krishna. He says, Bhuya, again, again tell me. Bhuya hi kataya hi triptir hi shrinvato nasti me amritam. Because I am not getting satisfied. Shrinvato na asti me amritam. It's amrit. It's nectar. It's amrit, causing me to forget my body, forget this material world, to forget death. Amrit. Deathless, making me deathless. So, Shinvatu nasti me amritam. and Shunvato na asti. I'm not getting satisfied. I want to hear again. So again he spoke. Again. Chapter 10, third time he spoke. His glories, Krishna's glories. But then Krishna said that actually I'll tell you, Pradhanyata Kurusheshta, I'll tell you my main glories, because Hanta Kate Shami Divya Atma Vibhutya Pradhanyat Kurusheshta Nasti me amrito Nasti anyat anta me amritam. There's no end to my glories. I'm just going to tell you the prime, main glories. We understand that Shesh Nag, who is holding up, what is he holding? Jambudvip. He is seated on, no, not Jambudvip. That is the Jivatata. Ananta Shesha, holding up the universes after Mahavishnu manifested the planets, he disappeared. So Ananta Shesh is there holding up all the universes now. He is glorifying Krishna with his Ananta, unlimited heads. He's glorifying Krishna non-stop, but he's not ending. He didn't come to an end. So much glorification is there. And when one is more keen to hear and to glorify, then Krishna empowers them to glorify more and to hear more. Even hearing is difficult. How can we hear so much? But if one, as will come in next verse, next few verses, next to next, when one develops attraction to hear, then Krishna gives him more ability in the sense of spiritual purification, spiritual intelligence to understand and hear Krishna, and opportunity. So many people want to hear, they're not getting opportunity, they're lamenting. We want to be devotees, we want to hear, they're not getting. So when one develops that deeper desire, then vidunoti suhatsatam hirdeyesha vadrani, Krishna removes that obstacles for us to hear. But for the jiva, for us to be enlivened, to be alive for the jiva, we say jiva is always alive, he is, but if you're not conscious, if you're not Krishna conscious, then we are material conscious. That is actually a death-like condition. Just like if someone is sleeping, he's alive, but he's not conscious, he's sleeping, shut down. So similarly, when we are not engaged in glorification of these activities, glorifying Krishna, remembering, worshipping and hearing, then we become in a death-like condition. So we have to dive into the nectar every day. Bhagavad Katha, dive into the nectar, hear, read, read also. So when we do that, then we become alive. This is the main activity. People understand that I have to glorify. Jiva has a tendency to glorify, but here it's mentioned in the purport that they tend to glorify other people. But Prabhupada said nothing good comes from that. You sit and glorify so many people. Some people glorify people close to them, non-spiritual basis of relation or activities. Everyone glorifies different people, but there's no good. No good will come from that. Then if we glorify Krishna, what good comes from that? There's one quote of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur where he says, he gives very deep and particular specific quotes about situations. So I remember one quote. He said, when the jiva is propagating the holy name, we can say also propagating Krishna's glories, kirtana, in any way, and he runs into difficulties doing that, and still he does it, then he said, spiritual body, he used all Sanskrit terms, maybe Swarup Deha, something like that, receives a large amount of supply of spiritual blood. He said something like this. When the body is in ICU and we lost a lot of blood or there's some problem, then you need a blood transfusion, and that has to happen fast or the material body will die, because the blood is the essence. So he said that when somebody is glorifying Krishna or doing these activities, engaged in glorifying Krishna or spreading his glories, or in glorifying, hearing about whatever, all the different activities, then what happens is, if he runs into difficulties but still does it, still maintains his sadhana, his propagation, his preaching, then he becomes very enlivened. He's given a deep dose of mercy by Krishna. That but as I said, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada's guru, he was very specific, very deep. So he said here specifically what happens, that our spiritual body manifests. It receives, he used the word rakta, not even blood. It receives adhyatma, rakta. Yeah, no, generally means we become spiritualized. If you want me to say directly, if I'm confusing you. You become spiritualized, you become Krishna conscious, very far, Prabhupada. We are Kali Yuga Jivas. So Prabhupada will just use these terms. The simple thing is we become Krishna conscious, we advance fast. When we are faced with difficulty in our spiritual life, still we go on and do, difficult circumstances will be there in this material world. These jivas that we are with in this material world, they are not from Goloka, they are from this material world right now. So there will be difficulties among us. In our situation, there will be difficulties. We are still in this material world. There's hot, cold, mosquitoes, cockroaches, different difficult circumstances, neighbors. So still we have to continue. And so if still we go on, there's difficulty, still go on, then we get a large supply of spiritual blood in our spiritual body. That's what he said. Which means our advancement is fast. We become spiritualized fast. This is a circumstance. So the purpose of this material body, actually, we use it for many things, but the purpose is for bhakti. We are given this body for bhakti, but that's not why the snake got his body. He got his body because in a past life he was envious, harming people without reason, envious person. So he's given that body. They'll just bite for no reason and cause great harm and fear. Why did the hedgehog get his body? Hedgehog is a certain animal. Okay. Why did the kangaroo, ardvak, different animals, they had different desires, they got that body. Why did we get a human body? For worshipping Krishna. The purpose of the human body is worshipping Krishna. Why do we have a tongue? To glorify, to chant. Why do we have ears? To hear Bhagavad Katha. Hands for holding Bhagavad Gita. This is the purpose of the human form. Human form specifically, and more specifically, human form from Bharatvarsha is meant for this. And if we don't do that, then material nature will punish us. Especially in India, when they don't do bhakti, they're punished more. Prabhupada said in one quote, when Indians don't take to bhakti and give it a low priority, then they're given punishment, difficulties in their material life. They come across difficulty. But anyone, this is the purpose of this life. And therefore, Krishna says in this verse, Tasmad ekena manasa. We have so many other priorities, so many other duties, but ekena manasa, with one pointed attention, Bhagavan Satvatampati, that Bhagavan, the maintainer of his devotees, Bhagavan Satvatapati, Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha Dheya Pujascha Nityada. Therefore, with one pointed attention, we are given this body for glorifying Krishna. So do it, we should do it. Glorify with one pointed attention, constantly. Constantly is every day, every time. Glorify, remember, worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of devotees. This has to be done. Shastra is telling us. Who opened this Bhagavatam and reads and finds this verse directly, Krishna is communicating. One pointed attention. Many other points and things are there in our life, but with one pointed attention. Of course, till we are not fully pure, there will be other things, issues lingering. We have to gradually also. But priority is here. One pointed attention. Actually, this verse repeats in the same way many times. Also in second canto, there's another similar verse. etavan tasmad bharata sarvatma bhagavan ishvaro hari shrotavya kirtitavyascha smartavyas chechita bhayam. Therefore, Bhagavan Ishvaro Hari, therefore, Tasmad Bharata Sarvatma, therefore Bharat Sarvatma, with your whole being, with your whole concentration, hear about the Lord, chant His glories and remember His pastimes. And you'll become fearless. Chechita Bhayam. Then, Etavan Sankhya Yoga Bhyam Swadharma. There's no point why you're looking behind him. There's no reason for that. That's his activity. Okay, Hare Krishna. Etavan Sankhya Yoga Bhyam Swadharmo Parinishtaya Janma Labha Parapumsam Ante Narayana Smritihi. The goal, the final goal of Etavan Sankhya, Jnanis, they have a goal. Their goal is to merge into the Brahman. Etavan Sankhya, yogis have their goal. But Swadharma, those who are saying, no, our goal is we must do our duty, do your work, do your duty. Niyatam kuru karma. Just do your duty. Karma yoga. Okay? But actually, Etavan Sankhya Yoga Bhyam Swadharma Parinishtaya, actually the goal, Janma Labha Para Pumsam, the actual goal of all of them, they don't know, is Ante Narayana Smriti. They have to remember Narayan at the end. But that will not happen unless we put him in our foreground of our consciousness, constantly practicing. So for devotees, they become happy hearing Krishna's glorification. When they hear it, they become enlivened. When we hear Bhagavad Gita, Krishna saying He's great, we read somewhere, Krishna is glorified, we become so happy. Even by reading Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that, Aham hi sarva yajnanam bhokta cha prabhureva cha. I am the only enjoyer of the sacrifice. Aham hi sarva yajnanam bhokta cha prabhureva cha. I am the only enjoyer and master of all sacrifice. Sarva yajnanam bhokta cha prabhureva cha. Ye tumam nabhi janati Tattvanes chavantite. Who doesn't know this will fall from their position. So we may say, I know Krishna supreme enjoyer. Then why are we seeking our enjoyment? We means me also. No, we didn't realize that. We are still sense gratification. We want comfort. So we didn't realize Krishna, hoping we realize one day that He's the only enjoyer. Aham hi sarva yajnanam bhokta cha prabhureva. Krishna is the only enjoyer. We are the servant. So till we don't realize, we have to just practice sadhana bhakti and constantly engage in these activities, because this is the ultimate aim of life. If realization of absolute truth is the ultimate aim of life, it must be carried out by all means. Hare Krishna. Any question? Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.